Well, what a weekend we've just had here on the Gold Coast. It was at Lady Mayores's ball, and we also had our famous top doggle competition, some really wonderful community events, and it was great to see people out and about. And of course, we're getting a sense now that our borders are really starting to open up. Lockdowns finished in New South Wales, it's finishing in Victoria, and of course, we're starting to get a lot of pressure for us to open our borders here in Queensland. So we're so hopeful we're really going to have a wonderful Christmas. Well, I'm here with some figures just released from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, which shown that the total household wealth rose by 5.8% or $735 billion over the last quarter, taking total household wealth to a record high of $13.4 trillion. It's no surprise that primarily rising property prices have been the significant reason for that increase. Now, residential property assets grew by 4.5% in the quarter alone. Superannuation was next at 1.1%, followed by shares of 0.3%. This figure translates to $522,032 of wealth per person. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's an average and allows for every man, woman and child. The Australian Bureau of Statistics Head of Finance and Wealth, Catherine Keenan, explained that residential property prices have recorded their strongest quarterly growth on record at 6.7%, and that demand for credit came to $78.6 billion, which was a rise of $25.5 billion over the quarter alone, and taking total household borrowings to $45.1 billion. Household demand for credit was the strongest it's ever been, and right back to periods close to 2007 was the last period similar to this, with most borrowers chasing new housing loans during, of course, this booming real estate market. There was a $38 billion increase in housing loans and an $8.7 billion increase in unincorporated business loans, which drove the overall 1.8% or $8.7 billion growth in household liabilities. Now, the bulk of the borrowings were for real estate owner-occupiers, who took up $31.9 billion of borrowings, whilst investors only accounted for about $6 billion. The total growth in owner-occupier loan balances was the strongest in 5 years, and pleasingly, deposit accounts with banks grew by $45.1 billion as well. That's a 1.7% increase. It's nice to know that there's some $0.7 billion in savings with banks. However, at the same time, the Reserve Bank is increasing its conversation and its warnings about rising debt levels within Australia, which is a result of rising arrears of loan repayments and rising mortgage defaults. It's no wonder APRA have just increased the safety net for borrowers, meaning that from the 1st November there will be a requirement for borrowers to qualify on the basis of them being able to meet repayments on their loans should interest rates rise to higher levels, as they forecast they will in the foreseeable future. We'll talk more about that in my next report. Meanwhile, our real estate market here on the Gold Coast just keeps going from strength to strength. I talked recently about our amazing in-room auctions just 2 weeks ago. We had another 4 on-site auctions, which saw one property in Wishart, Brisbane with 27 registered bidders, reserve price of $1.23 million and sold for $1,360,000. And then a property in Mabel Avenue, Southport with 16 bidders and a reserve price of $550,000. And be ready for this, an incredible sale price of $860,000. You know, we keep seeing sales one after the other. Another one in Aberdeen Avenue in Benoa sold prior to auction at $2.2 million, well over the expectations. And even last weekend at 33 Muir Street, Labrador, in Labrador, we've just sold a house at $1,050,000. Incredible auction results at present. So we're marching through to the end of the year. And of course, it will be really, really strong, as it always is, as people are getting out there and trying to lock up their real estate purchases prior to Christmas. So hold on to your hats. It was great to have some rain here on the Gold Coast over the last week. We were getting very dry and needed to top up our dams. So with some anticipation of our borders opening in the not too distant futures, we're all set and ready to go and welcome so many of our fellow Australians back into Queensland. I'll be back to you in a fortnight's time. Until then, let's be eternally grateful that we live in this magnificent country we're in. All the best for now.